Scripture portions of the day. Day 18.
Matthew 16, OENT. And the Pharisees and the Sadducees approached, testing him, and asking him to show them a sign from heaven. But he answered and he said to them, Whenever it is evening, you say, It will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning you say, There will be a storm today, for the sky is gloomy red. Respecters of persons, you know how to observe the appearance of the sky. Do you not know how to distinguish the signs of the time? A wicked and adulterous generation seeks a sign, and a sign is not given to it, but the sign of Jonah the prophet. And he left them and departed. And when his disciples came to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread with them. And he said to them, Take heed, beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But they were reasoning amongst themselves, and they were saying, It was because they had not taken bread. But Yeshua knew and said to them, O small of faith, why do you think amongst yourselves that it was because you have not taken bread? Have you not understood? Do you not remember those 5 loaves of the 5,000? How many large baskets did you take up? Neither those 7 loaves of the 4,000. How many round baskets you took up? But how do you not know and understand that it was not about bread that I spoke to you, but to be aware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees? But then they understood that he did not say to beware of the yeast of the bread, but of the teachings of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But when Yeshua came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, What does people say about me, that I, the Son of Man, am? But they said, Some say Yohanan the Baptizer, but others Eliah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. But he said to them, Who is it they say that I am? Simeon Kepha answered, You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Yeshua answered and said to him, You are blessed, Simeon Bar-Yonah, because flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. Also I say to you that you are Kepha, and upon this stone I shall build my church, and the gates of Sheol will not withstand it. To you I shall give the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Everything that you will bind in the earth will have been bound in heaven, and anything that you have released in the earth will have been released in heaven. Then he ordered his disciples to tell no man that he was the Messiah. And from then Yeshua began to inform his disciples that he was prepared to go to Jerusalem, and he would suffer many things from the elders, from the chief priests and the scribes, and he would be murdered, and the 3rd day he would rise. And Kepha took him aside and began to rebuke him, and he said, Far be it from you, my Lord, that this should happen to you. But he turned and he said to Kepha, Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, because you do not reason of God, but of humans. Then Yeshua said to his disciples, Whoever wants to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross, and let him come after me. And whoever will save his life will lose it, and whoever will lose his life for me will find it. And what does a person benefit if he gains the whole world and lacks his soul? For what will a person give to regain his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in the glory of his Father with the holy angels, and then he will repay each man according to his works. Amen, I say to you that there are men who are standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man who comes with his kingdom. Genesis 15, Septuagint. And after these things the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I shield thee. Thy reward shall be very great. And Abram said, Master and Lord, what wilt thou give me, whereas I am departed without a child? But the son of Masech, my homeborn female slave, this Eliezer of Damascus, is mine heir. And Abram said, I am grieved, since thou hast given me no seed, but my homeborn servant shall succeed me. And immediately there was a voice of the Lord to him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come out of thee shall be thine heir. And he brought him out, and said to him, Look up now to heaven, and count the stars, if you shall be able to number them. And he said, Thus shall thy seed be. And Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him for righteousness. And he said to him, I am God that brought thee out of the land of Chaldees, so as to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Master and Lord, how shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said to him, Take for me an heifer in her 3rd year, and a she-goat in her 3rd year, and a ram in his 3rd year, and a dove and a pigeon. So he took to him all these, and divided them in the midst, and set them opposite to each other. But the bird he did not divide. And the birds came down upon the bodies, even upon the divided parts of them. And Abraham sat down by them. And about sunset a trance fell upon Abraham, and lo, a great gloomy terror falls upon him. And it was said to Abraham, Thou shalt surely know that thy seed shall be a sojourner in the land, not their one. And they shall enslave them, and afflict them, and humble them 400 years. And the nations whomsoever they shall serve I will judge. And after this they shall come forth hither with much property. But thou shalt depart to thy fathers in peace, nourished in a good old age. And in the 4th generation they shall return thither, for the sins of the Amorites are not yet filled up, even until now. And when the sun was about to set, there was a flame, and behold, a smoking furnace, lamps of fire, which passed between these divided pieces. And in the day of the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, To thy seed I will give this land, and from the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates, the Canaanites, and the Kenites, and the Kedemonians, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Rephaim, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Evites, and the Girgasites, and the Jebusites. Judges 1. Septuagint. And it came to pass after the death of Joshua that the children of Israel inquired of the Lord, saying, Who shall go up for us first against the Canaanites, and fight against them? And the Lord said, Judas shall go up. Behold, I have delivered the land into his hand. And Judas said to his brother Simeon, Come up with me into my lot, and let us array ourselves against the Canaanites. And I also will go up with thee in the lot. And Simeon went with him. And Judas went up, and the Lord delivered the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hands. And they smote them in Bezek, unto the number of 10,000 men. And they overtook Adoni-Bezek in Bezek, and fought against him, and they smote the Canaanite and the Perizzite. And Adoni-Bezek fled, and they pursued after him, and took him, and cut him his thumb and his great toes. And Adoni-Bezek said, 70 kings have their thumbs and their great toes cut off, gathered their food under my table, as I therefore have done. So God has recompensed me. And they brought him to Jerusalem, and he died there. And the children of Judas fought against Jerusalem, and took it, and smote with the edge of the sword, and they burnt the city with fire. And afterwards the children of Judas went down to fight with the Canaanite, dwelling in the hill country, and the south, in the plain country. And Judas went to the Canaanite, and dwelt in Hebron. And Hebron came out against him, and the name of Hebron was Kiriathar-Bok-Sephir. And they smote Susi, and Ekman, and Tholmi, and the children of Anak. And they went thence to the inhabitants of Debir, and the name of Debir was before Kiriath-Sephir, the city of letters. And Caleb said, Whosoever shall smite the city of letters, and shall first take it, I will give him Askah, my daughter, to wife. And Gothanael, the younger son of Kenaz, the brother of Caleb, took it. And Caleb gave him his daughter Askah to wife. And it came to pass, as she went in, that Gothaniel urged her to ask a field of her father. And she murmured and cried from off her ass, And thou hast sent me forth into the southland. And Caleb said to her, What is thy request? And Askah said to him, Give me, I pray thee, a blessing, for thou hast sent me forth into the southland, and thou shalt give me the ransom of water. And Caleb gave her according to her heart, and the ransom of the upper springs, and the ransom of the lower springs. And the children of Jothar, the Kenite, the father-in-law of Moses, went up from the city of palm trees with the children of Judas to the wilderness that is in the south of Judah, which is at the descent of Arad, and they dwelt there with the people. And Judas went with Simeon his brother, and smote the Canaanite that inhabited Sepheth, so that they utterly destroyed them, and they called the name of the city Anathema. But Judas did not inherit Gaza, nor her coasts, nor Ashkelon, nor her coasts, nor Ekron, nor her coast, nor Azotus, nor the land around it. And the Lord was with Judas, and he inherited the mountains. For they were not able to destroy the inhabitants of the valley, for Rechab prevented them. And they gave Hebron to Caleb, as Moses said, and hence he inherited the 3 cities and the children of Enoch. But the children of Benjamin did not take the inheritance of the Jebusites who dwell in Jerusalem, and the Jebusites dwell with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem unto this day. And the sons of Joseph, they also went up to Bethel, and the Lord was with them. And they encamped and surveyed Bethel, and the name of the city before was Luzah. And the spies looked, and behold, a man went out of the city, and they took him, and they said to him, Show us the way into the city, and we will deal merciful with thee. And he showed them the way into the city, that they smote the city with the edge of the sword, that they let go of the man and his family. And the man went into the land of Kittim, and built there a city, and called the name of it Luzah. And this is the name of this day. And Manasseh did not drive out the inhabitants of Bethsan, which is the city of Scythians, nor her towns, nor her suburbs, nor Tanack, nor her towns, nor the inhabitants of Dor, nor her suburbs, nor her towns, nor the inhabitants of Balak, nor her suburbs, nor her towns, nor the inhabitants of Megiddo, nor her suburbs, nor her towns, nor the inhabitants of Jeblam, nor her suburbs, nor her towns. And the Canaanites began to dwell in the land. And it came to pass, when Israel was strong, that he made the Canaanite tributary, but did not utterly drive them out. And Ephraim did not drive out the Canaanite that dwell in Ezer. And the Canaanite dwell in the midst of him in Gezer, and became tributary. And Zebulun did not drive out the inhabitants of Kidron, nor the inhabitants of Dormanah, and the Canaanite dwell in the midst of them, and became tributaries to them. And Aser did not drive out the inhabitants of Echo, and all the people, because they tributary to him, nor the inhabitants of Dor, nor the inhabitants of Sidon, nor the inhabitants of Dalphah, nor Ascalazi, and Kebdah, nor Nai, nor Areo. And Aser dwelt in the midst of the Canaanite who inhabited the land, and he could not drive him out. And Naphtali did not drive out the inhabitants of Bethsemes, nor the inhabitants of Bethanaach. And Naphtali dwelt in the midst of the Canaanite who inhabited the land. But the inhabitants of Bethsemes and the Bethanaanith became tributary to them. And the Amorite drove out the children of Dan into the mountains, for they did not suffer them to come down into the valley. And the Amorite began to dwell in the mountains of shells, which are bears and foxes and Misarnemes, and in Thalabin, and the name of the house of Joseph was heavy upon the Amorite, and he became tributary to them. And the border of the Amorites was from the ground up to Akar bin the rock and the upwards. Judges 2. Septuagint. And an angel of the Lord went up from Gilgal to the place of weeping, and to Bethel, and to the house of Israel, and said to them, Thus saith the Lord, I brought you up out of Egypt, and I brought you into the land which I swore to your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant that I have made with you. And you shall make no covenant with them that dwell in the land, neither shall you worship their gods, but you shall destroy their graven images. Ye shall pull down their altars, but ye hearkened not to my voice, for you did these things. And I said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be for a distress to you, and their gods shall be to you for an offense. And it came to pass that when the angel of the Lord spoke these words to all the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept. And they named the name of that place Weepings, and they sacrificed there to the Lord. And Joshua dismissed the people, and they went every man to be his inheritance, to inherit the land. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders that lived many days with Joshua, as many as knew all the great work of the Lord, and the things that he had wrought in Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died 110 years old, and they buried him in the borders of his inheritance in Thammanathares, in the mount of Ephraim, on the north of the mountain of Gaaz. And all the generations were laid to their fathers, and another generation rose up after them, and they knew not of the Lord, nor yet the work which he had wrought in Israel. And the children of Israel wrought evil before the Lord, and the servant of Baalim. And they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, and brought them out of the land of Egypt, and walked after other gods, of the gods of the nations round about them, and they worshipped them. And they provoked the Lord, and forsook him, and served Baal, and the Ashtaroth. And the Lord was very angry with Israel, and he gave them into the hands of the spoilers, and they spoiled them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, and they could not any longer resist their enemies, among whosoever they went, and the hand of the Lord was against them for evil, as the Lord spoke, and as the Lord swore to them, and he greatly afflicted them. And the Lord raised up judges, and the Lord saved them out of the hands of them that spoiled them, and yet they hearkened not to the judges. And they went a-whoring after other gods, and worshipping them, and they turned quickly out of the way in which their fathers walked, to hearken to the words of the Lord. They did not so. And because the Lord raised them up judges, so the Lord was with the judges, and saved them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For the Lord was moved at their groaning by reason of them that besieged them, and afflicted them. And it came to pass, when the judge died, that they went back, and again corrupted themselves worse than their fathers, to go after the other gods, to serve them, and to worship them. They abandoned not their devices, nor their stubborn ways. And the Lord was very angry with Israel, and said, Forasmuch as this nation has forsaken my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and has not hearkened to my voice, therefore I will not be any more cast out a man out of the nations before their face, which Joshua the son of Nun left in the hand. And the Lord left them, to prove Israel with them, whether they would keep the way of the Lord, to walk in it, as their fathers kept it, or no. So the Lord will leave these nations as not to cast them out suddenly, and he delivered them not into the hands of Joshua. Psalm 16, Septuagint. A writing of David. Keep me, O Lord, for I have hoped in thee. I said to the Lord, Thou art my Lord, for thou hast no need of my goodness. On behalf of the saints that are in his land, he has magnified all his pleasure in them. Their weaknesses have been multiplied. Afterward they hasted. I will by no means assemble their bloody meetings, neither will I make mention of their names with my lips. The Lord is the portion of mine inheritance and of my cup. Thou art he that restores my inheritance to me. The lions have fallen to me in the best places. Yea, I have a most excellent heritage. I will bless the Lord who has instructed me. My reins too have chastened me even till night. I foresaw the Lord always before my face, for he is on my right hand, that I should not be moved. Therefore my heart rejoiced, and my tongue exulted. Moreover, also my flesh shall rest in hope. Because thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thy Holy One to see corruption. Thou hast made known to me the ways of life. Thou wilt fill me with joy with thy countenance. At thy right hand there are delights forever.